after World War II, he is put in charge of UNESCO. In writing his vision for UNESCO, Julian Huxley says about eugenics, we need to make the unthinkable thinkable again. 10 years later, he coins the term transhumanism in a book called...
Did he read his brother's work?
I'm sure, actually, that Aldous Huxley's work was influenced by the type of social milieu he inhabited, which would include his brother. And, sort of those intellectual circles where both of them grew up, right? Okay. This is the British aristocracy, and really a lot of the idea of eugenics going back to Francis Galton and, Darwinism and all of that, it seems to sort of emanate from there.
Fabian socialists and all of that.
Yes. So in a book in 1957, I believe, called New Bottles for New Wine, something like that, Julian Huxley coins the terms transhumanism and talks about how the new eugenics is going to be merging man with machine. So this is basically eugenics rebranded, and a lot of people that funded eugenics causes of the past, like the Rockefeller family, are, big proponents of transhumanism today, and it's getting increasingly problematic. I would say, if you look, for example, at the new head of the FDA, who very few people have bothered to look into, Robert Califf, he's a former Google Health executive. Google Health has a joint venture with GlaxoSmithKline called Galvani Bioelectronics. I think the former head of that was Moncef Slaoui, who was in charge of Operation Warp Speed, and their focus is what they call bioelectronic medicine, which is, injectable nanotechnology that can manipulate your central nervous system. What are the implications of that? We have the person that just purchased Twitter, making a brain chip company. He's also a major contractor to the U.S. military. He has a major conflict of interest with Chinese Silicon Valley equivalents like Tencent.
He says, and I love this, he says, that's one of the reasons why I want to get off the planet. He says his work is to find a way to, compete against the transhumanistic, folly. You don't believe that at all?
I don't buy it, no. If you look at that company, they had animal trials. Many of the monkeys that was tested and died after the brain chip was put in. If that were my company, I would reformulate everything or shut it down if it was going to kill that many animals, but it's already moved into human trials. I mean,
even though it's killing all the monkeys.
Well, it killed many monkeys. I forget the exact number, but a significant portion.
This is where it gets frightening.
Well, it's tied up with depopulation, right? You have this being sort of the new path of eugenics. And so, I don't think these people ultimately care about, how many. Canada, the medically assisted death, originally it was going to be for terminally ill people. Now people are pitching it to homeless people in Canada saying, you're too poor to live. Do you want to kill yourself?
How do we not remember what happened last time?
Well, I think some of these people, you look at the Rockefellers, they funded what happened last time. Yeah. A lot of that money that was used to set up the Nazi eugenics program came from the Rockefeller Foundation, and that's a matter of record. They've tried to go back and say, oh, we're sorry, but they're funding a lot of this stuff now.
IBM and the Holocaust?
I haven't read it, but I'm familiar with the relationship there.
He's a good dear friend of mine, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing now. Giant corporations are in bed with all of this stuff, and someday they'll be hiding it and go, no, we didn't do anything with that. But I don't know.
I don't think they even have to now. I mean, if it really gets to the transhumanist point and they can just manipulate, this is an attempt to manipulate consciousness.
Yes.
Really. So, and memory and all of that. I mean, they don't have to even bother with it anymore once it gets to that point.
I talked to Ray Kurzweil once, and I said, you put the nanotechnology, just help me out here, Ray. I'm a science fiction writer. You put the nanotechnology into me, and you control it. Not me. You control it. And I start speaking out about things that you and the powerful don't like. Why don't you just turn me off? Why don't you just, you know what? And all that nanotechnology, and I just die.
Sure.
And his response was, because we wouldn't do that.
Yeah, let's trust us.
Yeah.
How has that gone for the, past 100 years or
Right.
so? Right. And if organized crime are the people in charge, are you going to trust them? I mean, they want us to trust in them. If you look at the World Economic Forum or even the Biden administration and a lot of their policy documents, one of their main focuses are rebuilding trust with the public. And it's not working.
Yeah, it's not.
But
It's getting
they
worse.
may be looking at drastic interventions to make it work. And I think, if we're transhumanism to be shoehorned through, that could happen. And if you're seeing this, this sort of these mergers, because there's many of them, of Silicon Valley companies and big pharma, they're framing it as healthcare, but it's eugenics being framed as healthcare. And it's really
Terrifying.
I mean, it's terrifying. It's crazy. There's a lot of words for it, but ultimately it has to be stopped. And unfortunately, COVID has set this precedent where it can be mandatory.
In the movie The Matrix, Morpheus acts a bit like a salesman because he never tells Neo about the war with the machines. He never tells him about being cold every single day and eating the same crap. So he is a salesman selling war. So was the red pill really worth it?
You were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Well, Neo was meant to do that because repeating the same thing and expecting a different result is just insanity.
Do we have a deal, Mr. Reagan?
I know this steak doesn't exist. I know that when I put it in my mouth, the Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious. After 9 years, you know what I realize? Ignorance is bliss.
Then we have a deal.
I don't want to remember nothing. Nothing. You understand? And I want to be rich. Someone important. Like an actor.
What would have happened if Cypher hadn't taken the red pill in the first place? Would he be regretting that in the Matrix? Would he be looking for Morpheus? I mean, how can you know about something if you don't try it? Ignorance implies knowledge. Good implies bad. War implies peace. The Maya implies enlightenment. You cannot have one without the other. What if we are just beating around the bush and we are just not heading in the right direction, and it's needed for us as a species to make mistakes in order to find our way back home? Thank you for listening to me. Bye bye. Namaste.